welcome back or welcome to my channel. It is Sunshine Lorena. So this is going to be my October wrap-up video where I read all the spooky books this month. All of them took part in Spoopathon, Halloweekend readathon, Autumn Mixtape readathon and Weekendween. So I took back in four readathons. So there was lots of books in my TBR. I had 10 books in my TBR and I ended up reading 16 this month. So I read more than planned, not as much as last October. Last October I think I reached like 19. But you know, I think it's pretty good. So I read 16, I actually DNF'd one. I am filming this on the 31st October. I mean, I could have potentially squeezed in a couple of like, you know, short books, but... So yes, let's just kind of get into it. I'm gonna tell you all the books I read. I did vlogs every single week and they're all up on my channel if you want to go and check them out. Just sort of like in my thoughts, moment, other activities that I was doing, etc. The first book that I read in October was Playing Dead by Julia Hairbillen. I read this for Halloween weekend readathon the first weekend, and yes, this was a book that I got out of a box of stories. I won a prize like a year and a half ago and I hadn't read any of them and I was like, I need to get one on my October TBR. I got it on, I read it, it was a 4-star, it was really good. So this was in the crime and mystery thriller box and this was like more towards mystery more than thriller, I'd say, this one. But I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a different pace from what I'm used to in terms of like thriller type ones. But I really enjoyed it. Love this cover. I think it's amazing. I actually also used this for Autumn Mixtape readathon Nature and Cover, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so in this one, just after her father's death, Tommy receives a letter from a woman who's claiming that actually she is her mother. And that Tommy was actually kidnapped over 30 years ago. So that's how kind of this mystery kind of opens up in this book. But Tommy is then also approached by a journalist who claims to know about her past, but can she trust them? Tommy is like unsure of who to believe, so she sets out on her own journey kind of to discover her identity and actually the truth about her past. As there are some like explosive secrets that are revealed and she begins to realise it's not just her life that is in danger. And that's the premise. I don't want to say too much more than that, but I really enjoyed it. I love the pacing of this. I loved the development of the characters, and there were some twists and turns in there that I didn't see coming, which is really great for a mystery. But yes, really enjoyed it. Hardly anyone, there isn't that many like reviews on Goodreads, and I've never heard anyone speaking about it, so I definitely recommend it. It was the author's debut, I believe, as well, so I used it for Spoopathon. So I'm remembering all the prompts that I did these for. I used it in Spoopathon as well for, I think it was like debut or something, one of the prompts in the first week. So yes, that was really good. I then picked up Sweet Pea by C.J. Scoose, and this was the book club pick for Chloe Reed's book club, which is Chloe Reed's Crime Scene Corner. It's always a mouthful for me to say. That was the pick for October. I made it work into, I believe, Spoopathon and Autumn Mixtape readathon prompts as well. I ended up giving this 4-star. Absolutely love this. So I listened to an audiobook and on Scribd, and then the ebook from Kindle Unlimited. And guys, this was so funny. Like, I knew it was like a thriller, but I didn't really read too much into the synopsis beforehand. I just kind of went in a bit blind, and it has like dark humor in it. It is funny. It's more humorous than thriller. There is thriller elements in there, but honestly, this is so good. Like, if you've not read it, read it, and I recommend the audiobook because like the author, the narrator just like brings it to life. And I ended up giving it 4 stars. Yeah, just love the development of our characters, the twists and turns. Amazing. So the last person who called me Sweet Pea ended up dead. I haven't killed anyone for the last 3 years and thought when it happened I feel bad again. Like an alcoholic taking a sip of whiskey, but no, nothing. I had a blissful night's sleep, didn't wake up at all, and for once, no bad dream either. This morning I feel balanced, almost sane for once. Rhiannon is your average girl next door. Settled with her boyfriend and little dog, but she's got a killer secret. Although her childhood was haunted by a famous crime, Rhiannon's life is normal now and her celebrity has dwindled. By day, her job as an editorial assistant is demeaning and unsatisfying. By evening, she dutifully listens to her friends' plans for marriage and babies while secretly making a kill list. From the man on the little checkout who always mishandles her apples, to the driver who cuts her off on the way to work, to the people who have got it coming, Rhiannon's ready to get her revenge. Because the girl everyone overlooks might be the one that's able to get away with murder. It's just amazing. It is so funny. It is so good. I don't want to say too much else about it, but it's so good. There is another 2 in the series, I believe. It does end on a bit of a cliffhanger, this first book. and I really can't wait to get to the next one. It's so funny. Dark humor. It is so funny, and it's like you're following all her inner thoughts and workings in her brain. So how she, you know, she hates people. I mean, like, you know, we all hate people a little bit, but like she really hates people, and just following her train of thought, her interactions with people, what she actually thinks, is so good. Recommend. I then picked up Halloween Bites by Hardison Parker, and this was part of the A Monstrous Mistake series of books that were released across September and October. There's a whole bunch of different authors. A Kindle Unlimited book I found, and this was a monster romance. It's the first time I've ever read monster romance, and Kindle Unlimited 100% leads you down strange subgenres, is the best way to put it, that you never would have picked up if you didn't have Kindle Unlimited, because like, why would I go looking for monster romance? But it was good. It was good. I gave this 3.5 stars, and this was like a short story, like novella type one. I did find this one, I felt slightly like it could have went on a little bit longer. It didn't have to be full on book, but I felt like it could have got more details, but I did enjoy it. So we have Sebastian, who is a vampire. He like moves in the shadows except one night a year, which is Halloween, obviously. And he can truly be himself without kind of worrying, because obviously everyone is dressed up too. This year it finds him stumbling upon a human ritual called a Halloween party, searching to coincidence first. Marissa is a good girl, fresh out of college where she graduated. Her experience with men is limited. Our friends insist on dragging her to a Halloween party where it will cure her dry spell. She finds herself inexplicably drawn to a dark stranger with captivating eyes. Fate brings them together, but are either one of them ready to spend a night in the other's world? And yes, A Monstrous Mistake is like, these books are following like kind of vampires, werewolves, different types of kind of monstrous. They're actually real, and they end up meeting these women on Halloween night, and there's different stories, and I enjoyed it. Like I said, Kindle Unlimited taking me down some strange paths, but it's enjoyable. I am enjoying the ride. I then picked up My Best Friend's Exorcism, finally, by Grady Hendrix. This was really good. I give it 4 stars. I have to say, I did watch the film afterwards on Prime, and it's not as good, guys. Not as good. Do not recommend. I felt like it missed some of the key magic out of the book. Because the friendship between them just really didn't build up. You know, if I hadn't read the book, I'd be like, oh, why is she going to this much trouble for this girl? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why? But anyway, if you don't know what this one is, it's set in like the 80s, and it's that classic kind of Grady Hendrix campy horror style. So yes, we have 2 best friends, Abby and Gretchen, and they've been best friends since like, I don't know what grade they were in, but since they were young. But after an evening of skinny dipping goes drastically wrong, Gretchen begins to act a bit different and a bit strange. She's moody, she's irritable, and bizarre incidents keep on happening whenever she's nearby. Abby's investigation leads her to some startling discoveries, and by the time their stories reaches a terrifying conclusion, the fate of Abby and Gretchen will be determined by a single question: is their friendship powerful enough to beat the devil? So from the title, you probably guessed that Gretchen is possessed, and it's kind of this journey of what's going on. I like to build up. I liked how, you know, Abby was really felt like alone in this, because no one believed her. She was trying to, you know, help Gretchen. She was really trying her best. And the build up of that and what people actually thought was going on, and it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, the film doesn't capture the same sort of the magic of their friendship, but you can watch if you want to, but just know the book is actually better. And I know most people who enjoy reading say that, but in this case, definitely better. I then picked up The Visitor by Sergio Gomez, which is a horror novella set at Christmas, and this was for Autumn Mixtape readathon because I did an unseasonal prompt. So what was more unseasonal than reading a Christmas book in October? But it was still horror, so you know, I had those spooky vibes. This I ended up giving 3 stars. I thought it was really good. There was like a twist, a sci-fi kind of element in there, so I did use it for Halloween weekend readathon for like subgenre. I can't remember the exact prompt at the moment, but it was one of those ones. So it's on Christmas. There is a terrible snowstorm, and for various different reasons, there's these people seeking shelter in this diner on this road that really isn't that busy. There's hardly anyone out and about. So yes, they end up being like, I think there's 5 strangers, and they're forced to take shelter in this diner. As the night progresses, the snowfall gets worse and shows no sign of relenting, and you know, ice is building up from the roads, and the temperature seems to be dropping by the hour. But the worst has nothing to do with the weather, and everything to do with the 6th visitor that comes into the diner. The jolliest time of year quickly turns bloody as the diners find themselves fighting for their lives. This Christmas won't be just fight, it'll be red too. And I don't want to say anything more than that, than the synopsis. You need to go into it to find out, but it's good, guys. It is good, and I definitely want to pick up more by Sergio Gomez. It was also another Kindle Unlimited book, which I have done so well this month, and picking up all the Kindle Unlimited books. I then picked up Taste Like Candy by Ivy Phelan, and again, Kindle Unlimited book. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you know, it's a good one to pick up. It's a slasher novel following this group of teens, teen girls actually, and they're going into their senior year of high school, and each year the outgoing seniors send invitations to the incoming seniors, a select group of them, and it's supposed to be like the scavenger hunt night. However, this year things have changed, because usually it's in the school, but it's going to take part in a carnival where they have to break in. So they break in after hours and to do the scavenger hunt as part of the tradition. And then, you know, what happens at dawn, they gather with the outgoing seniors and have a celebration for their start of their upcoming year. However, it turns out that someone else has another game planned. After sneaking into the carnival, a madman in a rubber mask begins slashing them one by one, working their way through the group. And one of our characters, Violet, quickly realizes that the motive seemed personal, and then she ends up watching, you know, seeing her friends die in a bunch of bizarre attacks, and she must fight to save the night and try and save her friends where she can. But what on earth could she have done to earn herself a fast track pass to hell? You'll have to read and find out. There was some twists in there I didn't see coming. I did enjoy it. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I think it's a really good slasher. I then picked up Hotel by John Lees. This is a horror graphic novel, again Kindle Unlimited, and I thought this was really good. So it's you won't find this hotel anywhere on a map. It's off the route of 66. You might just happen to be driving by late at night, and you're just desperately trying to find shelter. A sign will appear on the side of the road for the Parrot Courts Hotel, where many check in but few check out. And the way that this is set up is there are 4 interconnecting stories of people who end up checking into this hotel. And yes, I thought it was really good. I liked the drawings, I liked the stories that it followed, and I love seeing the interconnection. So with each one you see something like, okay, that was that. Really the best way for me to describe it, but I really enjoyed it. Like I said, 4 stars. And then really quickly, I picked up the second volume of this as well this month, again Kindle Limited, and it's the exact same premise. It was another 4 interconnecting stories, and at the moment I think there's only these 2, and I don't know if there's gonna be a 3rd volume or not, but they're really good. It's the first time me picking up a horror graphic novel, and I really enjoyed them. So yes, both 4 stars. I then picked up The Acre by Ruth Ware, and this I actually had on NetGalley as an ARG, and it came out in August, and I hadn't got to it, and I was like, you know what, we need to make it work, we need to read it. And I think I used it for Spoopathon prompts, because I was like, I need to get this one done. So it follows like the classic kind of story of an it girl. So we have April and we have Hannah. So Hannah goes off to University at Oxford at one of the colleges, and she ends up meeting April on her first day. So they each have their rooms, but they share a living area together, and they quickly become really good friends despite their differences. April is like super rich, she is the it girl. Everyone loves her and like kind of wants to be around her, but she is super rich, like literally popping Dom Perignon bottles, you know, for like absolutely no reason. And then Hannah's just from a normal background, but somehow they end up becoming best friends, and they end up having this group of friends that ends up also being another 4 people involved in their friendship group. You have 2 timelines in this. So you have the past timeline, which is when they're at university, and you have the present timeline, which is about 10 years later. You find out pretty much immediately that by the end of the 2nd term, April gets killed. She's been murdered, and that's what happens at the first timeline, and you build up to the story of what happens and leading up to her murder and a murder happening. And then we have present timeline, which is 10 years later, and Hannah ends up being contacted. The man that went away for the murder ends up passing away in jail, and there is a journalist comes to Hannah asking questions because he believes that actually the wrong person went to jail. And since Hannah was testimony was I suppose one of the main reasons why he got put in jail, she starts to question what she saw was true, what happened, was it actually true? So that's our mystery, is if it wasn't him, who was it? And she ends up delving into this mystery of April's death. I don't say too much more than that. I ended up giving this 2 stars, and it's because, you know what, in that vlog, the vlog where I read it, I do go into a bit of rant and I go into spoilers. But I mean, the characters developed well, more or less. There's some elements where I find where actually it dragged on for longer than it needed to. You know, there's extra details that it needs to. There was too many misdirects, and I didn't think that was possible, but there was too many. Because you were like, oh, it's this person. No, now it's this person. It's like, I'm gonna get whiplash because like there's just too many backs and forwards. Some of them really annoyed me, those misdirects. The second last one was the one that really annoyed me. And then the one that ended up being was actually the second worst one that it could have been, the actual person. And I just felt like I didn't like the way it concluded. Again, if you want some more details, I'll link the vlog so you can go and you can see the spoiler section if you want to, because I go into details of what really annoyed me about this. I have my reasonings, and yes, for me, not that great. I didn't like the conclusion. I felt there was elements missing and too many like, oh, like just realizations and certain bits and pieces, and yes, it just annoyed me. It just annoyed me. Okay, moving on. I then picked up Boom by Duncan Ralston. Again, this was a Kindle Unlimited one, and this is like, it was a horror novella. Now, I didn't know this going into it, but it's extreme horror. And actually, so on Amazon, they don't give you any details of that. You have no idea. And when I went to actually, you know, mark off on Goodreads, I did see that they had that warning, and I'm just like, Amazon should have that so that people don't, like me, don't go into this blindly not knowing. Because I don't think I would have picked up the extreme horror if I wouldn't have picked it up. This is set in the lonely motel, and it holds very many dark secrets, and this, you go through these stories of room 6 might just because it might just possess the worst of them all, and trust me, they are the worst stories. So Angel knows all about pain. His mother died in room 6. He's researched its history, and today he's coming back to end it, no matter the cost, once and for all. Shyla, a plus-size prostitute, thinks the stories Angel tells her can't be true. Secrets so vile that you won't want to let them inside you. The Lonely Motel doesn't forget, it doesn't forgive, and it always claims its victim. And let me tell you, this gets graphic, guys. It gets graphic. There are topics in there that, you know, I wasn't prepared for some of the stuff and some of the descriptions in there, and I was reading this on a train as well, and honestly I don't know why I didn't DNF this, but I feel like I just felt compelled of going on like, this can't get worse, can it? And it does, guys. It definitely does get worse. I'm not going to pick up extreme horror again, and I really hope that I don't accidentally do it again, because yeah. So the moral of the tale is, for me, is, you know, check the synopsis also on Goodreads, because it might actually tell you that it's extremely graphic, and there are scenes in this that offend the majority of people, because yes, it was not good. And I think it was also because I wasn't prepared for that level. I might have not enjoyed it, but I might have dealt with it a bit better if I'd known that's what I was picking up, but I didn't know that. And at this point in time, I still don't know what to rate it, because it's not the author's fault that Amazon don't have that warning on there, because it's on Goodreads, so it is part of the synopsis in some places. And it wasn't bad writing, there wasn't bad character development, but it really just, it doesn't sit well with me, and I have no idea what to rate this. I thought I'd know by now when I do this wrap up, but no, I don't. So there is no rating for me on this one. I don't recommend, because for the majority of people, this is not it. This is not the book. But if you feel you can handle it, be my guest, go ahead. I then picked up Mirror's Eyes Motel, which is a novella, and it's by Tag Cully, and this again was on Kindle Unlimited. Not that many people seem to have picked this one up. It's just following this group of film students who are on this mystery, kind of doing this documentary about motel rooms, and they end up discovering something along the way. So they're following this trail of clues. Yes, I don't know what else to say to that, because it is a novella. There's not too much else details I can give you without kind of ruining it. I did enjoy it. And I think I end up giving like 3 stars for this one. It's good. Yeah, recommend for something quick and easy to fly through. I then picked up The Island by Adrian McKinty, and this was on audiobook that I picked this up, and this was my last book for Spoopathon that I read. First of all, this audiobook, so good, guys. You get like actual like noises in there as well, so there is like gunshots and like different bits and pieces you hear, like rustling. And it made me realise that audiobooks don't have sound effects. Like, that isn't like a normal thing. And after listening to this, I'm like, why don't audiobooks have sound effects? Because it really would bring more to experience, because I did, you know, I felt like it added to the experience of me listening to this book. I did enjoy it. This is a thriller. I gave it 4 stars. So this is, we're following this family. So we have our main character, Heather. She marries Tom Baxter, who's a widower, but it's about, I think he ended up being married about a year after his wife actually died. He does have 2 teenage children, a daughter and a son, and this trip he was going to Australia for a work trip, and they ended up turning it into a family vacation as well, to try and bring some bonding between like all of them, the kids, and try and help them through this tough time. So they end up going to Australia. So they do some sightseeing in between, and the kids are really disappointed because they haven't been able to see like koalas and stuff, and this guy overhears and he tells them about this island. It is a private island where him and his extended family live, and it's not where visitors normally go, but they end up convincing him and paying some money to take them across the ferry to spend a short period of time to try and see something that the kids can, you know, to make the kids like really enjoy this holiday. So the island is called Dutch Island. It is it's off limits to outside visitors, so they really shouldn't have been on the island at all. It is run by, like I said, it's this family, they're tight-knit clan of family members, and everything's a little bit off about this island. There is an accident that ends up propelling the family into an unsettling situation, and basically a nightmare, guys. The kids and Heather are separated from Tom as part of this, and they end up having to try and escape alone without Tom, ahead of their pursuers. It is up to Heather now to save herself and the kids and get them off this island somehow. The kids really don't trust her, but you know, they're gonna have to, because you know they need to get out of this situation. Heather has always been someone who's been underestimated during her life. So yes, that's kind of the premise. They're on this island, and I don't want to say too much more because you don't have all the details, but it's really good. Trust me, it's really good. There are twists in this that happen that I didn't see they were coming, and yes, so if you like kind of warm thrillers, because I find most thrillers are like cold based, or at least the ones I pick up are based on an island with like people being chased, being pursued. Like, I don't want to say too much more, but honestly, really good audiobook, really recommend. I then picked up Mooncakes, which is a graphic novel. It has like a bit of fantasy elements, but it follows a witch, and she works at her grandmother's bookshop, where you know they loan out books to that are on witchcraft, sell them, etc. And she ends up sometimes like kind of supporting and helping little like mysteries to go and check things out, and she got told about this white wolf in the woods, so she goes to check it out. It turns out it's one of her childhood friends that they've been separated, not seen each other for years, and her friend is Tam, who is a werewolf, who has been like kind of roaming around, not calling a place home for years, and actually came back to town because there are dark forces going on in this place in the woods, trying to claim the magic of wolves, and Tam ends up turning to Nova for help, who's a witch. Their feelings are rekindled against the backdrop of witchcraft, untested magic, occult rituals, and family ties, both new and old, in this enchanting story of self-discovery. It's really nice, it's really cute. I liked the illustrations, I liked the story, I liked the conclusion. I ended up with 4 stars. Can't really see much more to this, but yes, I really enjoyed it. I then picked up Autumn Crow by Cameron Chainley, and this is a collection of short horror stories. It's set in the town of Autumn Crow. They're set on Halloween. It's a bit of like a Halloween town. There's creepy horror stories. I enjoyed it, 3.5 stars. I don't really know much else to say because it being short stories, I can't tell you specific details, but it's good. It's a good collection of stories. It's a really good one to read for Halloween, October. You got all these different creepy vibes and following these different characters, which I really enjoyed. I then read Halloween Chase by Jordana Pierce, and again, this is part of the Monstrous Mistakes collection of books. This one follows Ruby, and she is known to make terrible decisions for the men she chooses, always, you know, chooses the bad ones, the wrong ones that she shouldn't go near. And this Halloween, she just, you know, wants to stick to hookups. So her friends invite her along to this Halloween party they're going to, and they're on the hunt to play easy prey. Then she comes across this mysteriously and oddly inhumane stranger who shows up at the party. She's gonna forget those frat boys that there are firefighters that they're after, and she's intrigued by Cam, in all the wrong ways. She ends up having an argument with friends and she ends up running off into the night. Cam ends up chasing her and she isn't scared until she realises the real monster was hiding in plain sight and Ruby has made a monstrous mistake. I really enjoyed this one. I liked the interaction with the characters and things that happen. This one I felt was a bit better than the other one in the sense that it was the right amount of time for us to kind of, you know, get to know the characters and their story and what happens, and I don't say much more than that, but I really enjoyed this one as well. So yes, monster romances, oddly, I enjoy them. And then finally, the last book of the month was Night of the Living Dummy, which is a Goosebumps book by R.L. Stine. I listened to this on audiobook. This one is following twin girls. One of them finds a dummy, a ventriloquist dummy, and because they're twins they always have to share, but like they always kind of, you know, the other one wants her own one. Her parents end up getting one from a pawn shop, and she also wants to do a ventriloquism dummy. So it's this story between the two of them competing to become the best, etc. But weird things happen. Weird things start to happen, and I don't want to say much more than that because I feel like I'll give up too much details. These Goosebumps ones, you need to know very little, but I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I actually enjoyed it more than the last couple of Goosebump ones that I've listened to. I thought it was really fun. There is like a series of these ones specifically about the ventriloquist dummies, so I definitely want to check out the other ones and see if they're good as well. And that's it. That was all the books that I read. Nope. And finally, sorry, I said that was the final book, but it wasn't. I had actually picked up The House on Abigail Lane by Patrick Burke. It was a horror novella. I actually ended up DNFing this one. So the way it's set up is it's about this house and it's written as a non-fiction. There's creepy things that have happened in this house, disappearances, etc. And the novella is written in a way to recount all these different things that are happening. I just didn't click with the writing style. There are good reviews on it, but for me personally I just didn't click, so I ended up DNFing it, and that's it. That is all the books now that I read in October and attempted to read in October. And yes, I feel like I've been speaking for absolute ages. Let me know if you've read any of these, if you're interested in reading any of these, if you took part in any of the readathons that I did, and yes, comment, like, subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye! Hello, welcome back, or but after an evening of skinny dipping goes to rest,